Is WWE planting the seeds for a major turn for Sami Zayn? Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Wicked Bitter channel. I'm Travis. Thank you for checking out this video. If this is your first time here, welcome in. We have great people here. I'm telling you right now, over 3,500 subscribers on this channel. It's a wrestling YouTube channel. It's a WWE YouTube channel. It's where wrestling fans get to talk to other wrestling fans about wrestling. What's better than that? If you enjoy WWE content, subscribe to this channel for more of it, because every week we're coming out with WWE content. And yeah, we do email videos where I answer your emails on video, and I think that's a pretty cool thing. That's my favorite thing about the show, or about the channel. So let's get into what happened on Monday Night Raw, because there's a couple of things I want to cover. First of all, the Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins angle took place throughout the entire show. Like, it was hard to escape it. If you were checking in at different points of the show, you would recognize and realize that almost every other segment was a Sami Zayn or a Seth Rollins type of deal, where there was something involved going on with that. We'll get into that in a moment. I want to cover something else that happened on Monday Night Raw. I'm not going to go over the whole entire show, because I think a lot of this was heavily focused on the Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker type deal, but we finally get an explanation from Becky Lynch. I like the fact that she outward just said that she attacked Bayley. So we can get that out of the way. We don't have to drag it out, because like we did with the whole Jade and Naomi and Bianca thing, that played out for weeks and weeks, and a lot of us are wondering who did it. You know what I mean? Now we don't have to duplicate that. We don't have to do it again. We can just... It's Becky. Becky did it. Becky attacked Bayley, and her reasoning was because she's been fighting Bayley since 2019. Bayley has been wondering why she's not a bigger star. She's complained about, not being on the promotional posters or the marketing behind her, or now she's being taken out of WrestleMania matches. So Becky said she took her out of the WrestleMania match to show her who an actual big star is. And I thought, okay, it's simple reasoning, but it works. Becky also talks about Lyra Valkyria, why she turned on her. She said it's because, Lyra was warming up to Bayley. She was becoming like a good friend of Bayley's, when really Lyra was looking up to Becky her entire career kind of thing. So it's a typical, student-teacher type of feud we got going on here. She looked up to Becky her whole career. That's like her idol, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And, Becky and her were cool at one point, but they've also had a couple of matches against one another. Now we're going to get a proper actual feud here between Lyra and Becky. And I remember talking to you about this before. Some of you have mentioned it's going to be hard for the fans to boo Becky Lynch, because she's such a big star, and everybody loves Becky. And I thought this was true, because the beginning of Becky's promo, she's clearly a heel, but a lot of people were still cheering for her. And I'm like, well, man, this is going to be tough on Lyra. It's going to be hard for Lyra to get over on this. So what I did like what happened was WWE did a pretty good job. They had a good effort in getting the fans to boo Becky here. And you got to give credit to Becky on that too. She completely, talked bad about the city she was in, which I know that's kind of cheap to do. They call that, the cheap heat type thing, but It works to get you the immediate boos. Anytime you run down a city that you're in, of course you're going to get boos. She needs to do more, I think, to get booed overall, because once we hit to like the bigger cities, or like the PLEs, or like a WrestleMania or something, that's when you get a whole bunch of different people from different cities and countries in there, and you can't really run down that country because a lot of those people aren't affiliated with it. So you need to get Becky real actual heat. It's going to be tough, but I think it's doable, because when Lyra came out, she had a pretty good promo against Becky. These two traded blows back and forth. Lyra was the one in the ring standing tall after all of this. She does get attacked afterwards by Becky up on the ramp. They did brawl for a little bit in the ring, but I thought Lyra did good. I think she handled her own. She sounded okay. She didn't sound nervous. The only thing I would say with Lyra is that it seemed like she did kind of rush through a lot of her dialogue and lines, instead of letting things breathe and letting the crowd react kind of thing, which is okay, because you're still trying to get the crowd to boo Becky. So you want to hit Becky with a hard line and then keep it moving, so that you don't give the fans crowd time to still stick with Becky. Becky, I think, did a good job of showing the crowd, look, I'm the bad person in this, and you all should be liking Lyra. I still think there's some work to do. I don't think it was perfect, so don't get me wrong. I still think there's going to be people cheering for Becky. She's just so loved by a lot of people. And, but I think they took a good step here. I think they took a good step. I don't think Backlash will be the end of this feud. I think this is going to be it's going to prolong it. We're going to get this for a few months, I feel like. I wouldn't even be surprised if they stretched it all the way to SummerSlam. But I'm not going to give away any early predictions yet of what the match card is going to be. That'll be the week before Backlash. But I thought this was a pretty good step here in the right direction. Okay, now I want to get into the Seth and Sami Zayn thing. Now, this was scattered throughout the entire show. We kick off Monday Night Raw with Seth, with Breaker, with Paul Heyman. They're cutting their promo. Seth talking about this being the future of the company. You know, he's got Breaker with him, all this kind of stuff. Sami Zayn shows up. And Sami Zayn pretty much calls out Seth, says that, you know, like, it's funny and coincidental that your vision of what the future is you front and center when really it should be other people like a Braun Breaker. And Sami, you know, kind of combats a little bit of the things that Seth Rollins is saying. Seth Rollins then answers back. You know, he says that, you know, he's the right man for the job. You know, you could be part of this. You could join this if you wanted to. And then Sami and Seth kept making it clear that they have that love for one another, that they're great friends outside of the ring, you know, like in their personal lives, like their kids grow up together, they play with each other, all that kind of stuff. So I thought this was a good dynamic here. You have the crowd invested and understanding that Seth and Sami are actual good friends. And even though Seth is playing a bad guy, he's still showing that, like, that love and vulnerability for Sami. He's, you know, telling Sami, look, I don't want you to be a part of this if you're going to say no to us, because then that makes you a target. So it's like, you're either with us or you're going to be a target, and I don't want that for you. I don't want you to be a target, but that's just the way things are here. That goes for anybody. Anyone I'm close with, anyone I'm not close with. Punk, Reigns, you, people I love like you, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're either on our side or you are a target for us. So I thought that was a pretty good explanation of it. You know, we kind of get an idea now of what's going on here. This Seth Rollins, like we all kind of suspected, right? Like he's trying to usher in a new vision, a new future of the industry. Braun Breaker clearly fits that mold. And Seth Rollins says that he's going to offer Sami Zayn an offer, or he's going to offer him a favor. And we keep hearing favor being thrown out there. This might be a new Seth Rollins thing. Part of his new story or gimmick is that he's going to be offering people like a favor in his eyes of what he considers to be a favor. And he's trying to give Sami Zayn an out. He's trying to offer Sami Zayn a favor. He say, look, if you don't want to join us, that's fine. But let me do you a favor. Let me have you moved off of Raw. That way you don't have to be a part of this in both a bad or a good way. Like you can go to SmackDown, you can stay out of this. We don't have to get involved here. If you don't want to be a part of us, you become a target, and we don't want that. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to attack you. So why don't we just get you over to SmackDown and bring someone else in? That way you can stay away from this. So he's given Sami Zayn that offer. He's given him that favor. And they want Sami Zayn to answer him by the end of the night. So I thought this was pretty cool. I liked this. Now, before the night moved on, I was thinking, well, okay, maybe this is what we get here. Maybe we get Sami moving over to SmackDown, and in return, maybe we get like the Carmelo Hayes, like I was talking about, him being part of this future program or this faction as the third person, if there is going to be one. But, you know, I think that WWE wants to roll with Miz and Melo, so maybe we leave that. Then I was thinking maybe Drew, because Drew had been rumored to be part of a faction with Seth and Kevin Owens months ago, and I'm like, well, maybe this is how they do it. But then Drew doesn't really fit like the future, because Drew's already been an established career, so maybe not that. Plus, SmackDown could use as many big names as they can. You'd be ripping that away, so maybe not that. I don't know. I was kind of going back and forth in my mind. What could we do here? Who could we place if Sami accepts this offer? Come to find out later on, we find out that Paul Heyman goes to talk to Sami Zayn backstage. You know, he says, hey, look, I respected your decision when you decided to leave the bloodline. Maybe one day you'll respect my decision as to why I did what I did when I turned on Punk and Reigns. And, you know, it was a cool little backstage little thing here between Sami and Paul. Paul Heyman then tells Sami, if you choose to accept this, if you accept moving over to SmackDown, I've worked it out with Aldis and Pierce, where you will face the winner of the John Cena and Randy Orton match for the Undisputed Championship. And now that's a big deal, because they know Sami Zayn has wanted this his career. That's what he's missing out on. He's missing out on a WWE Championship, a World Heavyweight title. So they're dangling that in front of Sami Zayn as part of to entice him to move over to SmackDown, and they still want an answer by the end of the night. Now, throughout the night, you're going to see backstage segments here with Sami Zayn. You know, he talks to Karrion Kross, who Kross has been, you remember, Karrion Kross has been in Sami's ear for months now, for months and months. And now he's telling Sami, you make the right choice. I know you'll make the right choice for you. And he's got that like evil smirk on his face. So it's like Karrion Kross again is playing into the mind of Sami Zayn, and he walks away. And then you get Jey Uso talking to Sami saying, hey, whatever you do, I know it's going to be what's good for you. So it's kind of like Sami, or Jey was kind of giving Sami his support, even if Sami decided to join Seth. Or else I feel like Jey would have swayed him into the direction of moving to SmackDown. Don't know what that was about. Maybe that was part of it. Maybe that's for something later on down the line. But I did not look past that thinking that was kind of weird. That was kind of weird that Jey didn't specifically say, hey, you can't join Seth. He was kind of just saying, hey, whatever you do, man, I got your back. I was like, that's kind of odd that would kind of phrase it that way, but I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm thinking maybe we're planting some seeds here for Sami Zayn. One thing I do want to mention, Paul Heyman delivered a great line to Sami. He said, you can live in the future or you can die with the past. And I thought that was a pretty cool line. We do get Sami Zayn at the end of the night coming out to announce his decision, I guess. He talks to Seth. He pretty much tells Seth that, when have you ever known me as somebody who runs away from something? I'm not running away from this. You know, you can't dangle the fact that I've never won a championship, a main title in my life, as the driving factor for me to leave here and go to SmackDown and try to chase that opportunity. Sami says that he will be a world champion one day and he's going to do it the right way. Something we've heard Sami Zayn say before in the past, years ago. So Sami's still holding on to that. But he does decline, and he says he is going to stay on Monday Night Raw. He tells Seth Rollins to go to hell, pretty much. And then you hear the Braun Breaker sirens play. Man, just that feeling. You know, people always throw out that word aura now. Braun Breaker's got it. Because once that song hits, you know, someone is about to get destroyed. So Breaker comes out with Paul. We get a match here. We get Breaker versus Sami. This match goes on for a couple of segments. The match ultimately gets called off because Breaker starts to try to spear Sami Zayn into oblivion, where the referee just calls the match. And then eventually Seth Rollins hits the curb stomp on Sami, and that's kind of how we go off the air. But I feel like all of the things that we saw tonight with Sami Zayn kind of is going to play a factor. I think Karrion Kross has been getting in Sami's ear. I feel like these are seeds that are being planted for Sami to turn. I remember last week when Sami came out to celebrate with Jey, there was a moment there where a lot of people thought he was going to turn because he got down from the turnbuckle first and he was just looking at Jey celebrate, and everybody was like, oh, is he turning here? I feel like these are all foreshadowing. I think we're going to get Sami Zayn to turn pretty soon, and maybe he does end up joining Seth Rollins' group, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just becomes a heel, but I think it's coming. I think these are seeds definitely being planted here. Karrion Kross, every time he's talked to anybody, they eventually turn heel, like shortly after. So we're still waiting on the AJ one, and we're looking for Sami Zayn here. I got my eye on it. I think Sami Zayn, as beloved as he is with the WWE audience, I feel like a turn is coming soon, and I think he'll be feuding with Jey for that title, because that's a great story to have. There's so many layers and so much background there. I think that'd be a perfect story. One quick thing I want to mention, too, before I end this. Pat McAfee delivered one of the best hype promos I have ever seen. I was pumped for that guy. I'm upset, at least for me on my end here in the States. Netflix bleeped out a lot of what he was saying, like the cuss stuff. I feel like it would have hit a little harder if we were able to hear it. You'd feel that emotion and passion, but we didn't get it, but we understood what he was saying. It was great. I love this from Pat McAfee. He eventually gets talked to by Aldous, who was filling in for Pierce. Aldous makes the match, Gunther versus Pat McAfee at Backlash. That match is going to be great. It's been a while since we've seen Pat in the ring. I just think that one promo from Pat alone was amazing. He got me excited for this match, even though I already kind of was. I'm even more now. I can't wait to see this, and I think this is going to be a great match. I don't think Pat McAfee's got a chance, but I think it's still going to be entertaining, and it's going to get the crowd behind McAfee so much more, and it's going to get the crowd to hate Gunther a lot more too. So I think this is going to work out perfectly. All right, my friends, that's all. Hey, I appreciate all of you. We're going to come out with more videos. I think I got a couple of more emails in there, so I might make another email video here this week. So I will see you on that one. Until we yeet again, my friends, as always, stay bitter.